God, don't you remember the first time you took acid? Like,
Oh, Duncan, I have to think of that. Yes, I do now, but it's a longer time ago for me than for most people here. Um, but I remember totally vividly now that you mentioned it.
longer time. How long? 4 days?
The first time was I was a junior in college at Columbia, so maybe 19 or 20, and I'm going to be 74 next month. So how much is that? 50 years ago?
Years. That was
But
good.
I remember it pretty vividly because one of the things that happened was my girlfriend at the time had a bad trip, and she went into a kind of spasm of fear and anxiety. And I was in no condition to kind of like, okay, let me just ground you here. I'll hold on here. So it was kind of the trip got aborted at the time. And, I don't think that would have been the outcome for me, but through her, I thought, oh, I really need to come down here. I need to be on the ground here
Right.
to help her to not have a terrible experience. So, that idea of losing your ground can be very easy navigation for some people and much harder for other people, or easy for us sometimes and harder at other times. So have you ever had a bad trip?
I've never had a good trip.
Now that's funny.
Taken acid over 100 times. I don't think any of them have been particularly great.
Wow.
No, I'm joking. I have there. I think anyone who's my acid friends out there, you know what I mean? Like you can have states of ecstasy, but like part of it's sort of an uncomfortable experience. I know for sure, like at least 99% of the time when I've come down, I've thanked God. I've been like, oh, thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Oh, God. But also, it's an incredibly enlightening psychedelic, and I love it so much. And now, having some kind of sloppy meditation practice, it's exciting. It's an exciting experience to like every once in a while have glimpses of a place that I thought I could only get to with like 200 plus micrograms, and that I think that's kind of the double-edged sword of psychedelics is on one hand, it's like, look here, do you think you're you think your identity is something, here, try this. And, you will experience some form of dissolution. I don't think there's a way to avoid it depending on dosage,
Yeah. Well,
and yet you still recrystallize, and then of course that place that you're talking about that your girlfriend experienced which I've been to, is the place where you're desperately just digging your fingernails into like whatever you picture as the thing in front of the abyss that you're getting pulled into, and you're just trying not to get sucked into that, not understanding that the moment that you let go, you're going to have the greatest experience of your life. But that doesn't make any sense at all when you're tripping, I don't want to die. I mean, I'm sorry if I'm rambling too much about acid. I thought we were talking about Buddhism and comedy, but anyway, to me, there is that thing that you're talking about, the Heart Sutra. That is this, to me, the if there ever was a way to articulate that experience. And I think what's very interesting about the articulating the experience, or in other words, like if whatever the method that you have used to cease to exist, it's only when you stop ceasing to exist that you begin to, the commentary comes from the moment you come back to yourself, when you're
Duncan, on the Midnight Gospel, that was such an interesting thing because you just invited me to come in, and we started reading some lines, and then we improvised a bit, and we ended up in the meditation instruction. I flat out borrowed from Tenzin Wangyal Rinpoche. I want to give that accreditation right now, who is a great Dharma teacher and very fluent in English and Western culture, and he's developed this thing called the 3 pills, which is silence, stillness, and spaciousness.
Yeah.
If you just take those 3 pills, like if we don't, I hope everybody can come and take our meditation training and so forth. But if you don't take those 3 pills sometime in the next month, maybe take them like for 15 or 20 minutes a day, maybe you can get more articulated meditation instruction about how to work with the myriad manifestations of your mind that arise during that silence, stillness, and spaciousness. But just leaving some space is so rare.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so rare.
So rare. Yeah.
And being still is rare.
Yeah.
So, these are kind of universal, even if you go into, theistic traditions that have a kind of contemplative aspect, they're still going to talk about those three things. It's not uniquely Buddhist, actually.
Yeah, right. Do you think of Buddhism as a revolutionary practice?
At the time it was. Buddha's time, definitely he was throwing off some, like, for example, he threw over the caste system in his group. That was a big, convention. Those were the Republicans of that day. They were going everybody's born with a fate, a karma, a destiny. And he's saying, no way, you can change it. So that's a revolutionary, but revolutionary in relationship to the existing culture. And I think it can become orthodoxy. I've seen Buddhism become orthodox. And it just takes on the same, it's got to be this, you got to do the 4 this, the 3 that. So there's traditionally people who come along periodically and just mess the whole thing up and shake it up, And that's what I think a lot of inspiring teachers do to different degrees, But it should shake up your concept of yourself. If that's not happening a little bit, and it's just strengthening a concept of self, and I know the formulas, and I know the chants, and I know the sadhana practices, and it becomes a kind of living rigor mortis with a sort of handsome ritual attached to it. I don't think that's what's intended.
That's cool.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Rigor mortis with a handsome ritual attached to it. Well, I mean, but revolutionary in the sense of that it is in the interest of all the people trying to sell us stuff that we're always moving. There's not, you don't see a lot of if we're existing in a world where all our data is being is being recorded, and then that data is being fed into some algorithm that's then trying to create desire inside of us. And the desire manifests as some fervent action, either to make more money, to get the thing we desire, to get the thing. And especially if the idea of the three the three poisons, what are they? Desire, ignorance,
and aggression.
Aggression. Yeah. So that means that if something is trying to instill desire in you through some
algorithm,
then it's literally trying to induce the suffering of desire inside of you. And so when I say revolutionary, I mean anything that is subverting the algorithm's ability to implant desire into you, anything that's messing up the way desire works, anything that's even introducing you to the weirdest concept. Maybe you can correct me on this, that within the desire is actually the feeling you're looking for. That this messes the whole game up. It really, if the game is, once you go over there, you're going to feel better. Once you have this thing, you're going to feel better. And then there's some method, you can call whatever you want. Right now,
and Duncan, depending how cynical the wielding of that algorithm is, there's a lot of aggression in it.
Yeah.
So, and I'm thinking right now, really, we're part of a new, very innovative algorithmic production, which has probably, you're savvy on this kind of stuff, has probably gotten out of the hands of the human beings who created it in the first place already. And like the algorithm, sorry, Instagram, but that's being created on Instagram is, diabolic in terms of trying to keep up with it. Like I've watched when I sort of go through it and how it's responding to me. It's almost like a conversation going on. But it's like a casino. The odds are to the house. Yeah, it's not a fair game. It's not like you and I sitting down and playing blackjack. It's the casino is just needs to win 52% of the time, and it's and anybody could win big. You or I could go in and get enlightened, but they go, okay, well, we're just creating a tableau of confusion and also feeding off people's hungriness, and emptiness in the wrong way. So. Yeah, so that's a good thing to keep in mind is are we subconsciously participating in stuff? We can't just go with the conscious stuff. We have to look into the infrastructure, the systemic stuff. For a modern Buddhist, I think it's much more appropriate than it might have been to look at the systemic part of the system, part of the samsaric
equation. It seems like the basic stuff that, Buddha is dealing with, it's just showing up in a technological way. Like, like you throw paint on the invisible man and you see the invisible man. You know what I mean? That's what technology does. It's like, it's not like the algorithm didn't already exist. The algorithm existed wherever there was anything trying to seduce you. The analysis of your whatever how you, since the beginning of whenever, this has been any grifter like takes a look at you and thinks, oh, you seem lonely. Okay, I'll present to you the possibility I could make you less lonely. Or, oh, you seem hungry. Maybe I'll trick you into thinking I can get you more food. Or, oh, you seem greedy. I'll make you think you can be rich. Or, oh, you seem worried about your health. I'll make you more worried about your health and then pretend to be a doctor. Like these things have been going on forever. It's just now an AI has figured out how to do it. And, it's doing it with, sadly, more precision. But, and what to me, like one thing that would completely destabilize that thing's ability would just be a simple, dissolution of the self. I mean, the thing depends on like having some like desires, something you're afraid of. I get these pop-ups sometimes that's like symptoms of hepatitis. Just shows some guy holding his leg. And I'm like, oh my God, I held my leg the other day. It hurt. Do I have hepatitis? You know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff. Like it's either trying to scare you, make you hungry. You know what I mean? But all these poisons that are elucidated in Buddhism, they're being elucidated because of the possibility that there is a way for them to no longer cause suffering. And so that's why I think it's a revolutionary practice, not revolutionary in the sense of like overthrowing the state necessarily, but revolutionary in the sense that the gears of society as we understand them, the flow of the economy depends on people subscribing to the idea that upon attaining this thing or that thing, they will experience peace. I mean, it's the most satanic thing of all time when you think about it.
Yeah.